Hello, in this tutorial we are going to apply the materials from the last tutorial to our oil barrel. So I've supplied a file, and as you can see here it's got a studio lighting setup. I'll just show you so you can see we've just got a basic studio lighting setup here, and that's to light our barrel and allow you to be able to do some nice quick renders of it so you can see the materials and how they affect the drum. So what I'm going to get you to do now is I need you to merge the oil barrel into this file, and this file is on Blackboard, so you should be able to open it and it will be called Lighting Studio, or Studio Lighting file, sorry. So once you've opened up this file, what we're going to do is we're going to go to File, Import and Merge, and then we're going to go to the oil barrel, whatever you may have called it, by the way, because remember you'll have saved this as, whatever name that you'll have saved it at. We'll press open, and then it's called line 002. I should have saved this as oil barrel, but I didn't, so just click on it and press OK. You should always remember to rename things, but at the moment it doesn't matter so much because we've only got one or two objects, or one object in this case. So we've got our oil drum here, and you can see I've also got my cut where I've cut my seam for unwrapping the oil drum visible. Now when we do our first renders, you're going to see a line appear down here. So we're going to need to turn the oil drum around so you don't see it. So we're just going to hide the seam basically. In objects that are simple like this, it's really hard to hide seams. While in more complicated objects, or if you make like a character or something, it can be a bit easier. It also depends on the texture. Some textures disguise seams better than others, usually more randomized textures. Anyway, so now we've got our oil drum imported. I'll just show you how to get in and out of your camera. So if you press C, that will take you directly into the camera I've set up. Now if you move around now, or pan holding the middle mouse button down, or mouse wheel, we're actually moving the camera, which you don't want to do. So if you do that, please just pop it back. And if you press P, that'll put you back into the perspective view. Same if you hit any other, like F or any of the other ones. But if you press P, you're in the perspective view, and you can move around and you won't move your camera. But it's something that you'll do, everyone does by mistake every now and again. So don't worry if you do, you just need to put it back basically. So anyway, so we've got everything we need. So we'll move on now to adding the material. So hit N to get the materials tab. Remember, in modes you can change it and make sure it's on the compact material editor. Oh, close that back. There we go. So this initial first slot here has the material that I've made for the studio, okay, and that's just so it doesn't really reflect too much light or any really, because it's set on black at the moment, so it's not gonna. Oh, someone's birthday come up. So yeah, so we've got the material here for the studio light. You don't need to do anything to that. It's just a blank canvas basically, so you focus on the object. We're going to click on the slot next to it, and we're going to make that our oil barrel material. So where it says default here, I'm going to close that there and delete that, and I'm going to pop in oil barrel map. Something like that. You don't even need to say that, but just for want of a better name. And I'm going to click where it says standard next to here, and we're going to make this a V-Ray material. So we need to scroll down and find the one that says a V-Ray material here. And as you can see, we'll get all of the V-Ray selections up, which is good. So now what we need to do is pop those maps we made in the previous tutorial into all the slots that are required. So the diffuse is where you put in sort of your actual image of that you want to be projected onto or mapped onto the object. So rather than it being like a base color like gray, or you can have a selection obviously if you click on that, we actually want to load a map. So we're going to press this little square button here, And once you've clicked the little square button, you'll be able to go to where it says bitmap at the top. So we'll open this material map browser, we'll go to bitmap, and then we'll load in the one that says diff, which is for diffuse map. In some programs it's called color, but in this one it's called diffuse. So we've popped that in. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I'll just click on the material again. I just zipped out there without telling you. So once you've loaded this in, you'll see you've got the coordinates for the texture, which is fine. We're going to leave it on that. But you can also have coordinates for the environment and mapping. And there's other options here that we'll probably go over at a later date. The one that you might want to know is your bitmap parameters has the link to where your image is. And sometimes if it's lost, you can reload it in there. If you move it, the file that it's contained in, you can reload it into here, into that slot. So what we need to do now is, whenever you load in a map, it sort of takes you down a level from sort of the main part of the material. And then what you need to do is click on this little button here that says go to parent to get out of it. So whenever you place anything in one of these slots, you'll go into where the map's loaded, and you'll need to hit like this go to parent to come back up. And when you're at the top, it's then faded out. When I go to the reflect one, we need to then obviously load in our reflect material. So again, I've clicked on the little square next to it, go to bitmap. And then under the bitmap, we're going to look for our reflection map, which is this one here. And I'll press open. And we'll make this slot a little bit bigger. So I'll just go and click on the slot twice. So double click and it will open up. Now if yours is a bit smaller, you can actually just, so if it's like tiny or maybe somewhere like that, but you can just drag it out and you can see it now. And now we've added that reflection map, you can see it's made it really quite reflective. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to add the glossiness map, and that's going to take that sort of reflectiveness, or the sort of the sheen that it's got now, it's going to take that down a lot, because obviously it's a really grubby old barrel, it's not shiny anymore. So we're going to click on bitmap again. I'll just cancel that, I'll just show you again just in case you didn't see it. Where it says glossiness, I clicked on that little button there, and I'm going to load the map in. Just load it like we did before with the other ones, by the way, mine's gone a bit funny there. And we'll load in the glossiness one. And then you can see that sheen's gone away now. And then I'll go back up the tree. And then the last one, last but not least, is we'll need to scroll down. So scroll to the bottom, and where it says maps, click on that drop down. And we're going to load in the, where's it gone? Bump map, there it is, bump map. So we'll go to click on that and say bitmap, and then once we get to there, we're going to go and load in our bump map and press OK. And then you should see a bit of a difference. So you can see there's like a scar out of that, isn't there? So where it says the bump map barrel here, you can switch it on and off just to see the difference. And you see how it's changed. You see how these now go all lumpy and bumpy. I'm going to turn it up a fraction just so you can see it a bit more. So I've just turned the percentage up, okay? So basically, remember the black and white map of the bump, the things that are black are flat, and the things that are white are like protruding as like the maximum amount. And the maximum amount is just set by this sort of figurative number here. So by making this 50, I'm just making it the white to be able to protrude out further. And obviously, like I said, anything in between the greys is somewhere in between those two like ultimate points. And remember as well that a bump map fakes that there's bumpiness on a material. It doesn't actually create it. So it's just making the effect that it is. So anyway, so we've now got our material. And remember, whenever you go into one of these, you go to your go to parent to come back up again. And then I'm going to scroll to the top, just so I'm on the base part, and I'm going to remember to hit the show shaded material in viewport, which I said you'll probably forget at some point in future. So remember, just click that on if it doesn't appear on the object. So we're going to click and hold and drag this onto our oil drum, and as you can see, it's appeared. I'm going to press C now to go into the camera. So now I'm in the camera, I've hit the C. Now you can see that we've got our seam here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the render button, which is the teapot with the lightning bolt, okay? we'll click that, and as you can see, it's now rendering our oil drum. We've got some lovely deep scars from our bump mapping here, but we've got this nasty line where it's quite noticeable that that the maps sort of come to an end and then started again, and that's because of the two just don't match. So what we're going to do, and in most scenes you'll have to do this, you'll just have to hide the scene, so you just turn it to the back out of the camera view so people can't see it. There is programs like Substance Painter, there's certain special packages that will make like your texture look like there is no scene, okay? Because you can actually paint textures on, which is really cool. And you'll actually like paint it onto the 3D object, and then you'll get this non-repeating, which is really good. But at this stage, we're not covering that. We're just going to do this sort of simple unwrap. So we've unwrapped it, we've got our scene. We're going to just get rid of that so you can't see it. So we're going to turn this around. So I'll close this, and then currently our gizmo and our pivot point is over here because we drew a line. This started off as a line basically. So to move that, we need to go over to our control panel, and we're going to click on the hierarchy tab, and then we're going to go to effect pivot only, and we're going to center it to the object, and you just seen it jump to the center of the object. Now you need to remember to click the effect pivot only again to switch it off, and you'll see it still moved. And then we'll go to our rotate tool, and we'll just rotate this round. So it doesn't matter which way. I kind of like to see these lumps and bumps, so I'm just gonna hit that and click the render here. So it's very sort of plainly lit at the moment. So to add a bit more drama, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close it on one side, and it might help us pick up some of the lumps and the bumps. I'll just close that as well. And then I'm going to press P. I'm going to select this light. You can also select it here as well. And I'm just going to go to the modifier tab. So I'll just click on the modifier tab here, and I'm going to switch that off. And I'm going to press C again, and then I'll be back in here, and then we'll just have a look now. Yeah, that's a bit better. So if I actually zoom in now, you can see that these bits are all protruding and they're lumpy and bumpy. We've also got this part here is slightly shinier than the rest of the body, and that's because of the glossiness map that we've popped in. So if I just cancel this for a sec and press M. So remember, all this sort of shininess and glossiness is all controlled by those black and white maps that we've popped in here. Okay. So there's one last thing that I'm going to do. So as you can see, currently on our wall, or whatever bit of metal the original image was on, these parts were actually along the bottom, but now they're on the top, and that's to do with our unwrap of our barrel. So if I select the barrel and then go back to the OpenUV editor, what I can do now is, with the polygon selection selected, I can grab all of these. I'll just make this a bit bigger to make life a bit easier. But I want to be able to see this so I can show you. I want to grab all of these and make sure rotate is selected, and if you look, you can turn it around and it actually shows it on the, it's rotated around the map. There's another thing you can do, which I probably should have shown you this first, is you can pick a texture and then go to bitmap, and you can load that diffuse map, and you can actually see where it is on the image that we made in Photoshop. And you can see, so, and like I said, if you rotate that, you can actually see it on the object as well. So that's just something I wanted to show you, and then I'll close that, and then you can get the end example here. You can see that's now along the bottom. And you kind of, it actually looks like you can see the lumpiness a bit more down here as well now. So it just depends on the look that you're going for. But as you can see, we've got a nice lumpy, bumpy, rough barrel. This will look good in most scenes. And remember, the sort of the lumps and the bumps and the grungy textures generally make your environment more interesting. In 3D, if things look perfect, they don't look real. Things don't look real if they're too perfect. So it's nice to have these interesting lumpy, bumpy textures, and that's why it's important that you know how to unwrap. So anyway, you now know how to unwrap a basic cylinder, and obviously it's something that you can apply to environment scenes later on. So I'll finish the tutorial there, and well done.